Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Conversations of, with Dimi this year, 2023. I'm super excited about the topic today. As you know, the overall topic for the year is prosperity, and this month, we're gonna explore how actually self-discipline impacts prosperity. And I have someone here to talk about it. She's great in that. This is what she's doing mainly. She's working with clients in this direction. She's making transformations with people, amazing transformations, and I'm looking forward to hear what she has to say in this direction. So, Monica, welcome here. I want first to share who you are, what you do.
Okay, happy to
Yeah,
be here. Thanks for having me
yeah,
on. I am a self-discipline coach.
yeah.
A little bit about my background. I went to law school after college, practiced for a number of years, not so happily. So I knew that I wanted to shift and got my master's in leadership development. So I started doing coaching in law firms. At the time, it wasn't called coaching, but a lot of the substance of what I did was coaching. So I did that for a number of years and then transitioned into coaching for tech companies like Google and consulting firms and launched my own business a number of years ago. And initially started working with leaders, new managers, co-founders and founders of startups, big organization, no executive leaders, then transitioned into working with lawyers. And most recently, I have sort of niched down to self-discipline because I was looking at sort of the foundational skill that I was teaching a lot of my clients, no matter who they were, what they were doing professionally, was around self-discipline. So I love the work I do. I think it's incredibly meaningful and it's my jam. I'm happy to talk about it.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's why we are here with you because definitely I feel that it's your jam, as you said. So tell me more about self-discipline. What is that? I know that a lot of people talk about self-discipline. But from your perspective, what is self-discipline and how self-discipline might help us to become prosperous in whatever we do?
It's a good point. Self-discipline, I guess, could be defined in many different ways. The way I think about it, it's the ability to have impulse control and do what's in your best interest long term, regardless of how you're feeling emotionally or physically in the moment. You take action no matter what the obstacle is, no matter how uncomfortable the thing is, how much self-doubt or fear you may have. And I think I mentioned this. To me, self-discipline is the bridge between your goals and your results. It's what takes you from having a vision and an idea and taking consistent action until you hit your goal. Um, I think the beautiful thing about self-discipline is that it's a learnable skill. A lot of my clients
Mm,
think that you either have it or you don't, but it's absolutely something that you can learn. I have a framework for how I teach it. And there's, of course, a mindset component, but trying to think if I'm answering your question. I
mhm.
think that self-discipline is the biggest differentiator for successful people. It matters way more than talent. It matters way more than background or resources, because in the short term, talent may lead you to success, but sustainable results over the long haul are only driven by self-discipline. Because most of us,
Mm,
when we first start working towards a goal, we have a lot of motivation. We're seeing some results, but inevitably we're going to hit a plateau or an obstacle or a failure. And that's where most of us give up. But if you have self-discipline, you always push through because the taking of the action is almost automated. It's become habitual and you're not negotiating with yourself. You're not using willpower. You just do. And that's why I love self-discipline.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I have so many, directions I want to go in this conversation now. One of the things which I was thinking now, before we jump on to the next topic we have in this direction, is what would you say to people who are saying, yeah, but I don't feel it like that. I'm going against myself. I don't want to push myself too hard and all of these things, which a lot of people say when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
discipline, because, as you said, in order to be disciplined, you need to really exercise this impulse control. You need to really often, especially in the beginning, go against what people say you feel inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk a little bit that? Is it clear what I'm asking actually first?
Are
Yeah,
you saying like I don't want to work
yeah.
hard? And so I don't want to have self-discipline.
Yeah, no, actually, it is that I'm gonna give you my idea how that came in my life. Um, for example, I want to become a great coach. Let's see, this is my example. I want to go to become a great coach, very prosperous, make a lot of money. But when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel like doing stuff, right? I just want to go to the normal routine I had before, and I don't want to go and reaching out to clients, talking to them, trying to find out ways to reach out to them. So there's so many things which are new for me. Some people say, yes, you can be, as you said, disciplined. You go do the things, even though you don't feel like doing it. Other people say, yeah, but I need to follow my feeling. I need to follow my emotion, and that's going against that. Isn't that I'm going against myself?
Right. Okay. Okay. I see that. I
Yeah,
see what you mean.
yeah.
So there's so many ways I can approach this, but basically, initially, when you're developing self-discipline, you have a little bit of resistance to doing the action. When you have self-discipline, there's no resistance. You just do it. And I'll give you an example with this. But to answer the question that a lot of people say, I just want to feel motivated. I want to get inspired. And my answer to this is motivation and inspiration start the goal, but self-discipline finishes it. You can't rely on the occasional times when you feel motivated to have long-term success. It feels beautiful to be motivated and so easy to take action. But if that's the only time you take action, you will never be consistent enough to create those things that you want, the big things in your life that require that commitment and consistency. The beauty about self-discipline, and we can dig into this a little bit deeper, is that initially you are going against what feels good in the moment, what feels pleasurable in the moment. You're putting yourself in discomfort, but eventually your self-discipline, you don't think about it. It doesn't require effort. So think about the most simple example, brushing your teeth. Assume most of your clients do this daily. You don't love it. You don't look forward to it, but it's completely non-relevant, non-material to you. You don't think about it. You don't resist it. It's a habit. You have self-discipline to brush your teeth twice a day. And so even though it's not something that you wait to feel motivated to do, you just do, it's good for you. You've committed to doing it. But because you're so self-disciplined, it doesn't take any motivation and it doesn't take any resistance to overcome the resistance to not do it. It is so habitual and automated. And the beauty of self-discipline is that when you create it around the behavior that you want to take, you get to that same level of automated consistency that doesn't require effort. You're not willing yourself, you're not white knuckling yourself to do the thing. You do it. In the beginning, in the process of developing it, we are working a lot around the wanting immediate gratification and wanting, to avoid discomfort. And how do you overcome this? What is your why for your goal to get through that initial resistance stage to build the habit? And there's a lot of tactical pieces that I teach around how do you do this in the initial stages. But the goal and the beauty of self-discipline is that eventually it just is. You take the action with no resistance.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm asking you that question because a lot of people, and also my clients, when we work with them, everyone wants to feel motivated all the time. But I love this quote, like motivation helps you to inspire yourself to write the book, but discipline is helping you to write in the book. So that's what actually, in short words, you just said that. So let's go to the next one. Let's talk about misconceptions then. Tell me about some popular misconceptions you've seen and noticed with your clients, which might help us to really understand discipline more and also distinguish discipline.
Sure. There are definitely some common misconceptions that I see. One of them is that self-discipline is rigid and it is boring and it limits spontaneity and it's restricting. And I want to say that the opposite is true. To me, self-discipline is freedom, because when you're self-disciplined and you choose intentionally how you want to spend your time, how much money you want to save, what you want to eat, when you want to work out, you create the freedom to live the life you want, instead of always feeling at the effect of what's happening to you, because you're so spontaneous and you're not disciplined around any of the actions you take. So the more you're disciplined with setting boundaries around your time, doing what you say you'll do when you plan to do it, the more time you create for yourself to then be spontaneous and do the other things in your life. The more you have self-discipline around saving money or investing, the more money you have for the other things you want. So I think it is a misconception that's preventing a lot of people from even trying to be disciplined, and it gives them an out. Like, I want to be spontaneous, so I'm not even going to try this whole self-discipline thing. But in fact, it's creating a lot of poverty in the sense of poverty of time, poverty of relationships, poverty of money, because they're completely not intentional with their life. Self-discipline is freedom, always, 100%.
I love it.
I'm trying to think of what else.
Yeah.
There is a misconception. One of the things I think I mentioned is that you either have it or you don't. And that's not true. A lot of my clients come to me and they're very self-disciplined in some aspects of their life, and then they're lacking discipline in other aspects. And that's so beautiful. And this is the joy of coaching for me, is to uncover what is it about the areas that you lack self-discipline in? What is the mindset? What is happening there? What is your pattern? And how can we lean on the experience of all the other places where you have self-discipline and find a way to apply that? But not only is it not black or white, you either have it or you don't, but it's also learnable. Like I said, you absolutely can develop that skill if you want to, if your why is strong enough for why you want the thing, the goal. I think those are the two most common ones that come to mind.
Yeah, I would just, when I was thinking, when I was listening to you, several things come to mind. That's a little bit connected to the second thing you said, but I think a lot of people, especially art-oriented people, consider discipline going against creativity. And that's been, so many people, they say, okay, if I get disciplined, put things in schedule and stuff, I cannot be creative. I cannot put, my best work in place. And do you have some words to share about that in this direction?
Yeah. I mean, again, listen, if you're an artist or a writer and being completely spontaneous works for you and to create the results you want, love that. Absolutely. You're clearly not going to come to me for help. But there are a lot of people who can use self-discipline and be very creative. And what I'd say there is that if you're just waiting for the motivation, again, you won't be consistent. You may not be able to be in control of the results you create. You can use self-discipline to get yourself to start. And so I have a quote saying, a blank page cannot be edited. You have to produce something to make it better. You have to start to spur that creativity. So sometimes it's overcoming the inertia of inaction. And there's a lot of tactics around how do you get going when you're overwhelmed, when you're not inspired, when you're not motivated. Once you do, often you create momentum and some of the juices start flowing and you're able to get into flow. But it's that resistance to getting started is where the self-discipline comes in.
I remember one teacher which I had in the university. He was a marketing teacher, and he was saying that when you start writing something, just start right. I mean, for example, you want to write, you have some question, write one page, and you're gonna, after this page, you start writing. Actually,
so true.
And this is the thing which I would say in favor of your point, that actually I've heard a lot of authors who say, if they have chunks of time writing every day, but they put it before that, like in morning 2-3, afternoon 2-3, they're way more productive and effective than if they just go with the flow.
Yes. I literally I have a client who is an author, and we literally are working on, she's like, I have nothing to write. So I told her, just keep writing. I have nothing to say. I have nothing to write. And by the 10th time she's written that down, her brain is like picking up and coming up with ideas. So don't use that as an excuse to stay completely not in control of how you spend your time, unless it's working for you. And then you have a beautiful artistic business and it's amazing.
Yeah. And another thing with my client was that, for example, it was not about writing or something. I mean, but he was like, he had to just start an exercise we were just talking about, and he tried it once or twice, and that's not for me. And I remember, we were talking about that. Okay, you need to do that several times, maybe 10, maybe 50, maybe 25 times in order to start feeling it. You cannot start feeling it for the first and the second time. And this actually is discipline, like you say. In order to create a habit, people say 21, 66 days, 100 days, I don't know how many days is, but let's say that you need certain days to do it every single day in order to really. And another example which I'm giving with my clients, I'm sure that you know that normally when you do that, you always one of the fingers stays on. It's just the normal. Everyone has the right or the left. But if you try to do it the other way around, it's very uncomfortable at the beginning. It's a very simple thing, right? And it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel natural. But if you start doing that all the time, like for several days, you start to feel comfortability with that. It's all right. Now it feels right. So it's the same thing. And when you show people something very simple, they start understanding the whole concept of discipline, I think, more.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I mean, there's so many things I can say to that, but think about the simplest example of a baby crawling. If they think about it, well, it didn't work for me. I fell the first day and I fell the second day, and they give up. Like, what happens? Like, you just keep showing up and taking consistent action, and those small actions compound and give you the result. You absolutely can learn and get any goal you want if you're willing to stay consistent and take the small action. And self-discipline is a beautiful framework for how to do that.
One thing which definitely I agree with that, and just the last misconception which comes to mind is, and I think that might be a way deeper misconception for people, that they associate discipline with punishment and shaming.
Tell me more.
I mean, because the word discipline is coming very often from a place of, okay, how parents discipline their children or something. So that in itself, the word discipline is very triggering for people sometimes. It triggers people in this direction. And in subconsciously, they go against that. Have you noticed that sometimes?
Not as much in my work, but I do think you make a valid point. There is an association with discipline as punishment, I guess, coming from how parents may raise some of their kids. But my approach to self-discipline is about self-love, compassion, and curiosity, because punishment and beating yourself up it just never works. It typically backfires. And I go into a lot more detail to help my clients understand why, especially since a lot of the clients that I work with are type A, super successful and professional. And a lot of them have been successful by beating themselves up over mistakes and failures so they can do better next time. I teach them that they think that works because they've been successful, but I teach them that they've been successful in spite of that approach. And I help them see how a different approach can be a lot better and easier. So self-discipline is a beautiful journey of setting your future self up for success and loving your future self and improving your relationship with self, and having a lot of curiosity along the way of what you're currently doing and why it's not working and how you can do it better.
Yeah, and I think one of the associations with a lot of people could take from today is that instead of discipline equals punishment, discipline equals freedom. It can create a great shift for people subconsciously to start really accepting it and really seeing and understanding discipline from a different point. I think that can be a revolutionary for some people. I definitely believe that. So that's amazing. I love that. And people, if you have some questions or some kind of inquiries, just write down in the comment section. Just we're happy with Monica to answer that. And yeah, that will enrich even more this conversation we have right now. So let's go now to talk about skills, Monica. So what kind of skills a person has to develop in order to become more disciplined?
That's actually an interesting question, because you don't need any skills to create self-discipline. Self-discipline is the skill. So from a philosophical perspective, that we can kind of like play with this question, but I don't think there's anything you need or, you have to develop the skill. That is the skill in and of itself. So it's like a very meta question.
Yeah. So are you open to create some discussion around that? Because I think I have some ideas around that. So I'm gonna tell you. So let's have brainstorming ideas in this direction, because I'm really looking forward for the next part when you're gonna put a lot of your knowledge and help people to become way more practical with that. But let's talk about this part of skills. I totally agree that self-discipline is a skill by itself. But like everything else, right? Everything is a skill by itself in some way, because you can develop everything. It doesn't matter if it's self-discipline, self-love, or whatever it is there. So what is my point here is that in order to be self-disciplined, from my perspective, you might have several different skills around that which might help you to become self-disciplined. What I mean by that is, one of the skills in my head is open-mindedness. So you need to be open-minded in order to become self-disciplined. And from my perspective, the more you're open-minded, the more you're open to learn the skill of self-discipline, right? So, so maybe the question can go in this direction. What kind of skills you might have to help you to become more
Yeah.
self-disciplined?
Yeah.
How does that sound? Yeah.
I see what you mean. I think the way I think about it is those are the components that I teach you in working together to ensure that you're able to apply the work. But
Yeah.
absolutely, a growth mindset, believing that you can, open-mindedness, a great a mindset around failure, how you perceive failure, what you make it mean. Do you fail and stay down, or do you fail and get up? And how do you look at obstacles, all of that. So those are certainly pieces around mindset that are very helpful. But I don't think there are any prerequisites. I will take any client and I can help them be self-disciplined in the area that they want. So there's certainly things that can make it easier. Absolutely. If you're not open-minded, we have to work on that first and then start applying some of the things. So
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree that everyone who can come to you, you can help them in self-discipline, and definitely as you said, you can work around everything else so that it helps the person is good doing that. Another thing which I was thinking in this direction is you already shared it actually, and this is to be comfortable with discomfort, right? That's for me is a skill by itself, to be
Yes.
comfortable with discomfort and to be, because as you said, some people are, some people they are not with that. And of course, that might be that. I'm sure that this is also part of the process. Also, your teaching and your coaching around. But yeah, that's but for me, honestly. And the interesting thing, which I'm just thinking now, this is interesting thing is that this year I was thinking that exactly self-discipline is very important for me for achieving a lot of the things which I do. And I wrote here several habits or skills I want to develop on my work here. And one of them is exactly be comfortable with discomfort. And the other one is control the impulse. Because I'm gonna just share something about that.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening. How is this author? Hormozy. You know him? I forgot his first name. He has,
Alex.
yeah, Alex Hormozy. So he was talking. I don't know in which podcast he was, Luis Hose or Tom Bellew. I don't remember which of these two. But they asked him what are the three skills that billionaires have, which help them to become a billionaire. And I remember he was saying that the three for him are, the first one is that they are um, they really believe that they can achieve everything. The second one is that they feel that they are not good enough, so they want to develop all the time. And the third one he said was control the impulse.
Yep.
So he said that they are masters in this skill.
Yes.
So that's why, yeah.
So control the impulse to me equals self-discipline. But I love him. I think he's spot on. And he has introduced some beliefs that if we can adopt them, we can make great strides. So I love listening to him too. But I think what you said, discomfort, get comfortable with discomfort. I say that discomfort or the willingness to feel discomfort is the currency to your dreams, hands down. And so
yeah, and this is a big part of our work as human beings and as coaches, particularly me and you,
yes.
working with clients, is to the moment people embody deeply the belief that it's all right to go against the grain, to go against this feeling of comfort in your body, that's the shift which can create so many changes afterwards.
Yeah.
It's just a shift, Sometimes it's very simple, but it's very hard sometimes for people to just accept the fact that for a while they're gonna feel it, they're gonna use this muscle of to develop this muscle of being comfortable with discomfort, right?
I love that. I studied the Stoics a lot, and there's a lot of talking in there, and it's a beautiful concept. But I always am mindful to differentiate between the two types of discomfort: the discomfort of growth or the discomfort of stagnating and being in your comfort zone. You can be on the sidelines and feel very uncomfortable because you know you're capable of more. You know that you're living under your potential. That is uncomfortable. That is not the discomfort that you need to be comfortable with. you need to be comfortable with the discomfort of just stretching and doing things that feel scary and you have a lot of self-doubt around, and go after it and get better at it. So I think sometimes people are like, whoa, I'm very uncomfortable, and so I'm embracing this. But if you're on the sidelines, that's not the right kind of discomfort.
No, I really want to talk for 2, 3 minutes about something because I think I want to hear your opinion honestly with that. So again, I'm gonna go to explain that. I hope you're gonna understand exactly what I mean. Is, for example, people are the biggest distinction people can and is great to understand is when they need to go with their feeling and when they need to go against that. You understand what I mean? So some people say, so I'm going to tell you that. So some people say, I always want to feel good. If I feel good, this means that I'm in the right direction, right? So that's one of the, actually, this is one of the law of attraction's prerequisites, that you need to go. A lot of people who talk about that. I need to feel all the time good. This means that, you know, I'm attracting things in life. So this is one concept, right? The other one we talk about is, for example, you go against the grain, right? For some time, you don't feel great when you go and you being self-disciplined with stuff. So where do you think, I mean, just tell me, when do you think you find the distinction between these two and the line between them? And is there a line for you?
You know, I'm not an expert on the law of attraction, so I will tell you what I teach. And I do feel like discomfort that feels expansive, discomfort in a way, in a direction that you know is moving you forward, is the way to go. Feeling, so I don't know much about the law of attraction necessarily, but feeling badly, I don't recommend it just for the sake of like beating yourself up, suffering through, you know, being stuck in a place that you want to. But when you do the work that gets you to the things you want, discomfort is inevitable, but you know that that's the right kind of discomfort. You know that it's stretching you. It's like a good workout will sometimes feel uncomfortable in the moment, and then you regenerate, your muscles rebuild, and you know that that's the good kind of discomfort. So I guess the distinction I've made, is it expansive? Is it driving you forward? Does it feel, is it good pain in a way that you can tell the difference for you, versus, you know, wallowing in negativity, which is, there's no upside in that. But again, I'm not an expert on the law of attraction, so I might be speaking against what they teach.
So what I would say is that the good feeling for me, you can call it intuition, or, you know, some kind of deep feeling you have inside, is connected to that. In my opinion, you have the feeling that something is great to be done, or you need to go in certain direction, but you know that in this direction you're going to have places where you're going to feel uncomfortable. I think the bigger picture is, for me, is when you put, you know, the vision, the goals towards something, you need to feel good about it in order to go towards it, right? But during this, you know, this journey, you will have to go from your comfort zone and have some pain in a way in order to move forward and get what you want. So I just distinguish them. They're maybe in different places for me, different dimensions, you could say even. And I think that's what self-awareness helps people to get really into distinguishing between the other. That's my point on that. I'm just saying it because a lot of people are saying that, and when I talk to people and they say, it doesn't feel good. Yeah, it doesn't, because you need to grow from that. You know, you need to go to the next level of yourself in order to really be, I always say, ready for the next steps. Because I love this this story about the butterfly and the caterpillar, right? When the butterfly has to, you know, get out of the place, and then someone comes around it and just cuts it, and it falls down and dies because it's not ready to actually fly. And I believe self-discipline and the things you go, you know, do, and the skills you develop around it helps you to become really ready to get what is coming.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Cool. So let's talk now about your So in general, this part we're going to talk about some practical tips from your side, how the person can become self-disciplined. I guess you're going to talk here a little bit about your program and stuff you do, and so the way you want to approach it actually. What's your opinion? How someone can, with several simple steps, start
Uh,
becoming more?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the steps are simple, but they're not easy, right? Because you are shifting,
Yeah,
you're shifting from what you know. But there are definitely some tactical pieces around self-discipline and habit formation, and there's a huge mindset component. That is very
yep,
individual. That is the customized coaching piece. But the tactics are, if you know anything about habit formation and self-discipline, it's there's a couple of pieces from the beginning that one, be very, very clear on your current pattern. What is it? What are you trying to do? Where do you typically fail? What is the pattern? What is the context? What are you doing? What are you feeling when you want to take action, but you don't? And so
yeah,
be very clear on that and understand exactly what's happening. See if you can shift some of the pieces that are causing the inaction. But always start small. When we first started going, this is why New Year's resolutions fail so often. We get so excited. We're like, new chapter, I'm all in, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week for 45 minutes. You feel that motivation, and then life gets in the way, and within 6 weeks you've completely given up on the goal. The recommendation around self-discipline is to start small. Pick the amount of action that you can do every day, no matter what gets in the way. So create the desired action based on your worst day, not on your best day, so that you can take that consistently enough to create the routine and the identity of someone who does this action. So if you want to write a book, start by writing half a page, 1 minute, whatever it is that feels like a no-brainer. Like, no matter what happens in my day, I will be able to write for this longer. I will be able to do a 5-minute walk around the block, no matter what. So what happens is that when my clients first hear this tactic, they get disappointed. They're like, well, this is silly. This is so small. It's insignificant. It won't get me to my goal. And yes, the answer is yes. This alone won't, but it will create the routine and the identity. And then once you have the habit, you can improve it. You can
yeah,
scale on it. But you can't have consistency around a behavior that feels overwhelming and too much. And most of the time, you won't be able to keep up. So start small, be patient, focus on taking the action, not on the outcome from the action, because initially you won't see the outcome. You will just be building that identity and that consistency.
yeah,
And the other good tip that comes along with this is, if you miss for any reason, let's just say your goal is to write every day and one day you don't write for 1 minute, um, if you have to, reduce the scope, but keep to the schedule. If you're thinking, well, I can't do the 1 minute of writing, write one sentence. Keep showing yourself that you can show up for yourself, that you are someone who writes consistently, even if it's a lot smaller than what you intended. It's not all or nothing. Like, I can either keep to what my intended plan was, or I drop it all together. If you can't do the whole thing, even if it's very small, do half of it. Do one push-up, do one squat. So keep to the schedule, but reduce the scope. And thirdly, very importantly, is never miss twice. If your goal is to do something daily and for some reason you miss it once, don't panic. Don't throw your hands up in the air and give up on the goal. Like, okay, I'll get back on track as soon as I can, because those misses won't matter at the end of the year. They will be insignificant. But if you get back on track, you have a lot more follow through than not. And those efforts will compound on each other to create the result you want. And one thing that happens very often with folks who miss is that in their mind, then they have to compensate. They have to make up for the miss. And then the next day they think they have to show up twice as long or twice as much. And that's what keeps you from showing up. That's what creates the resistance of getting back on track. So drop that expectation to make up. Show up with exactly the least amount of action you had planned on. The goal is to get back on track, to break the pattern of missing, not to actually do the activity for as many times as you had planned, right? Because this is not, initially, self-discipline is not about results, not about quick gains. It's about creating a habitual routine that's automated, that becomes a no-brainer. Then you become that person who does the thing, and then you build on it. So those are some of the basic, framework steps around habit formation and self-discipline. And then there's the mindset piece, which is pretty individual.
yeah, absolutely. So what was going around my mind when you were talking about? I totally agree with you. Actually, I love the idea of you could say mini habits, atomic habits, whatever you say is these small habits you are creating for a certain amount of time when when you create a routine. I love the two things you said. You create a routine and identity. And this identity piece is something people sometimes can't understand, that is incredibly important to have the identity about that. I'm someone who is walking, I'm someone who is writing. I am, right? I am that person already. I have this. I've had this with one of my clients. She is writing so many things, and people like that in social media everywhere. And I said, "You are already an author." And she was like, "No, I'm not. I don't have a published book." What? In what? You don't have that? You're already an author. You're writing that all the time. People like it. People comment on that. People are interested in that. You're inspiring people with that. If it's in a book or not doesn't make sense for me in my head. You are, and it was a great shift for her, because then she started considering herself as that.
Yeah, and that's so key. You're absolutely right. The identity of someone who does the thing, it becomes harder for you not to do the thing. So if you're someone who runs, you have to get it out of your body. It's so hard for you not to have the habit. So that's when the work becomes easy. You're not really trying because you want to be consistent with your identity.
I was this one of the things which for me was very hard in my life and in my younger years, but I was kind of this nice guy identity. I had this in me. And then I developed a lot of skills afterwards and changed that in a great way. But the thing here is that I continue doing the things, even though I couldn't understand that this is not my identity. I didn't know that's identity. That's what I want to say. I was doing it, and I said, why continue doing that? Because inside of me, I had these hidden contracts, like I need to be great to people, I need to be good to people, I need to love people, I need to do that, I need to do that, I need to really take care of people. People are more important. I am a person who is prioritizing people's needs than mine. So I just wanted to share, especially also for people who are like that now, and they see that and they are considering, why is that happening for me? It's for that reason, because you still have this identity, and it's a great piece for you, Monica. And I want people really to emphasize on that, because this is the being piece, which me and you, we as coaches, help a lot of people, and I consider that is way more important. Not that the other one is not important, but this one is way more important than the other one, because it creates someone who you are.
Yes, you're absolutely right. The work ties in together, all the pieces coming together. And I think that's why self-discipline is freedom, right? Because you are that person and you do the thing without any effort.
Absolutely. So great. I really loved everything we've spoken here with you, and your presence and your confidence, your discipline, just your being, Monica, I really thank you for that. Thank you for being part of this conversation, sharing your golden nuggets when it comes to discipline, life, and prosperity, because that's what we're talking about today. And before we give the last message to people, can you let us know if someone wants to contact you, where is the best place to do that?
Yeah, of course. Well, thanks for having me. I love the topic. So I'm always happy to chat about self-discipline. I am fairly active on social media, on LinkedIn with Monica Levi, Levi. On Instagram as the Self-Discipline Coach, and my website is monicalevicoaching.com. I have a bunch of freebies on my Instagram bio. So there's 6 or 7 freebies that are pretty, I think, substantive, and they can help you get started with some of the skills you're trying to build. So check it out there. Grab your freebies, stay in touch in all the ways that you're active on any of the platforms.
Great. Cool. So what is your last message towards people?
My last message is self-discipline is amazing. It's 100% worth it. Anyone can learn it, no matter what stage, how old, how young you are. It is the bridge between your goals and your results. So do it. Thank you, Monica, and thanks for having me. Really, thank you for having me here, and really grateful. Likewise, so fun. Thanks.